There are forces of good and forces of evil at work in the world today. What are these forces? Who is responsible for the good? And who is responsible for the evil? Richard Shoff talks about current events which are rarely discussed by the mainstream media, events that affect us all. This program seeks to identify, to inform, and to equip the believer for what's ahead. Welcome to What in the World is Going On?
Good morning, good listeners. When I sit down and turn the television on to watch the news, and I see a porn slut with an openly gay national news anchor sitting before me in front of the CNN cameras, and they want to discuss morality, I truly have to wonder what in the world is going on. This is Richard Shoff. This program is What in the World is Going On. We are sponsored by Lincoln Log Homes of Kannapolis, North Carolina. I am personally, and this program is pro-Christ, pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, and pro-American. All of the above, without an apology. An article comes to me from Brian Judith that I think most appropriate. Riders on the Storm was hit for the Doors in 2070, a psychedelic rock ballad from the drug-addled Jim Morrison. A portion of the lyric goes, quote, like a dog without a bone, an actor out alone, end quote. Flash forward almost 50 years and consider a remake of the iconic song. Several days ago, CBS correspondent Anderson Cooper was riding his own storm. One by the name of Stormy Daniels, a porn slut who alleged a one-night fling with then-private citizen Donald Trump. Although he was married at the time with a young child, he was a decade-plus away from the White House. Will Mr. Cooper ride the storm to an Emmy, or is he a dog without a bone? One of the liberal actors out alone trying to bring down this sitting president. Trump denies the accusation, as does Miss Daniels, 3 times actually. But that didn't stop CBS from giving her close to half an hour on 30 Minutes to tell her story, or at least the latest rendition of her story. Anderson Cooper rode the storm like a champ. He asked Miss Daniels questions never asked of any of Bill Clinton's women. Did he use a condom? The discussion even entered into speculation about Donald Trump's private parts. The only surprise was that Mr. Cooper didn't cut to Marco Rubio for his opinion on Trump's manhood, as Rubio seemingly had authoritative knowledge on this subject back during the Republican primaries. Was a 60-minute interview thoughtful journalism discussing interesting political issues of the day? Or was it just about ratings? If the latter, it sure worked, as 60 Minutes drew its highest ratings in 10 years. Aside from ratings, and other motivations for CBS to air such an interview is to embarrass the President of the United States. Did 60 Minutes ever do a segment to embarrass Barack Obama over his dogged birth certificate, or his photo with Louis Farrakhan, or his association with Reverend Jeremiah Wright? How many of the women raped or harassed by Bill Clinton were featured for a half an hour on 60 Minutes? Juanita Broderick, said Anderson Cooper, CNN, and 60 Minutes had never interviewed her. Why not, I wonder? Aside from trying to embarrass the president, CBS is making a concerted effort to peel away Trump supporters from Trump. Well, fellow network NBC tried to do the same before the election with Access Hollywood tapes, but they didn't have much success, as Trump still won the election. What big media don't seem to understand is that Donald Trump wasn't elected for his virtue or his morality. Trump is a player, not a priest. He had 3 wives. As a popular TV host for years, he traveled in the same circles as Matt Lauer and Charlie Rose. The difference is that Trump's alleged dalliances have been consensual, unlike those of Bill Clinton. Speaking of Bill Clinton, Remember how the media chastised the public for criticizing his behavior? It was a private matter, we were told. It was just about sex, and it didn't affect his ability to serve as president. As for the accusers, Matt Lauer followed the enabler and enforcer wife Hillary Clinton to whine about vast right-wing conspiracies while at the same time attempting to destroy her husband's accusers via her bimbo eruption team. Remember James Carville's famous quote, "Drag a $100 bill through a trailer park, you never know what you'll find"? That was considered clever when said. It was said about Paula Jones or Kathleen Wiley. Could the same be said about Stormy Daniels? Go back a few more presidents to JFK, noted womanizer, way beyond the exploits of Clinton and Trump combined. He favored real actresses rather than the porn stars. Women were plentiful in President Kennedy's White House. Would 60 Minutes, if it had existed at the time, have interviewed Marilyn Monroe and asked whether JFK used a condom? And don't forget Brother Teddy of Chappaquiddick fame, a fellow senator, Chris Dodd, sexually assaulted a waitress in the waitress sandwich incident. Did that waitress ever appear on 60 Minutes? Other randy past presidents, too, from FDR to LBJ. Affairs and illegitimate children dutifully kept under the wraps by the media. Trump was elected for his politics and promises, not his virtue. Building the wall, draining the swamp, fixing lousy trade deals, and remembering the forgotten American workers are what gave Mr. Trump the winning votes. Voters knew his history, as he had been in the public eye for decades. But you see, that didn't matter, as the only thing at stake was stopping Hillary Clinton from giving America a third term of Obama. Morality and virtue are important in choosing a friend or a spouse, less so for commander-in-chief, where competence reigns supreme. It's great to have both, but not absolutely necessary, else the White House would be the empty house. If morality is the big issue, we could have Jimmy Carter, who was considered a virtuous man. His presidency was a disaster, an exercise in incompetence, despite his Mr. Rogers public persona. Morality in one sphere can even cover shortcomings in other areas. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. was and is considered a paragon of morality for his civil rights work, despite his serial adultery. CBS and other media outlets can continue to hammer away at Donald Trump, but their harping is falling on deaf ears. Democrats and never-Trump Republicans will hate President Trump even if he cures cancer and brings about world peace. His supporters will tune out the noise and focus on what Trump is doing. If a portion of the $700 billion in defense spending goes to the Army Corps of Engineers to build a national wall on the border for national defense, or if North Korea gives up its nukes, the stormy storm will peter out. If the OIG report results in indictments, prosecutions, and accountability for the last administration's lawlessness, the stormy storm will turn into sunshine. The reality is that the media is, quote, a dog without a bone. Anderson Cooper, Jake Tapper, Jim Acosta, and the rest of the left-wing journalists are actors out alone, as are the never-Trumps and the entire Democratic Party. Riders on the Stormy Daniels storm to nowhere. Again, I'm Richard Shoff. This program is What in the World is Going On?